Welcome to our home. We are so thrilled to be with you today and to have our wonderful guests, Tamara Uzelac Hall. Thank you for being here.
Oh, so excited, so excited.
I am so excited. I am honestly so excited for all of us to learn together. And really, Tammy's going to bring a lot to this table today and a lot to our home and a lot to this discussion. So I'm excited for all of us together to be learning from the Spirit, learning from Tammy, learning from these incredible scriptures, what the Lord would have us learn and study at this time in our lives. We've said this many times before, I'm just going to remind us of this again. The Spirit will teach you what is most important for you. Today, we are going to study 2 Kings chapters 2 through 7. We're going to look at two really important principles, and then we're also going to have an overall context. And then because we have a wonderful Hebrew scholar, we are also going to have Tammy share with us some really important truths that are, and I think semantics and definitions and things that are going to help us in our study. So our two main principles today are, as we follow and testify of the prophet, we will see the Lord's hand in our life. And the second one is, as we follow the prophet, we too can say, it is well. Welcome to Grounded, where women and men of all ages, nationalities, and backgrounds gather together with me, Barbara Morgan Gardner, and my guests as we strive to gain a bedrock understanding of the life and teachings of Jesus Christ and become more like Him.
Okay, I have to just tell everybody, you're gonna love this so much. When Barb called me, and we're busy people, like trying to make this work. I know, right? And so when you said, okay, can you come and do this? I was like, yes, when is it gonna work? And we found a time that worked. And then you told me what we would be studying. So inspired. God was like, let's have her do. I can't even get over.
It's true.
All the books, of all the stories in the Old Testament, you picked my absolute favorite chapter. And people who know me know I have a lot of favorites, but for real, like 2 Kings chapter 4, it's my go-to. Anytime I get to speak to women, this is where I go.
Okay,
I love it.
It cracks me up because this is the reality. I think we know this. For those of you who know Tammy, and I'll tell you a little bit about her in a moment, and she can fill in the blanks too if she'd like. She loves the scriptures. She loves the words of prophets. She loves Hebrew.
Yes.
And you love women. And you love talking about women in the scriptures. I mean, we were just talking, and Tammy has written this wonderful book, Hebrew Delights.
It's fun.
I highly recommend this. And as I was just saying to Tammy, the reason why I'm recommending this is not just to have you buy it. That's really not the purpose. The purpose is to have you study Hebrew and to understand these words and to know how wonderful it is that we have women who have various skills, various gifts, spiritual gifts that President Nelson has spoken so often of, that we really need for each other. We're all in this together. So I have always appreciated Tammy's gifts to teach. She also does as I hope you'll have the opportunity, and please do watch Sunday on Monday.
Yeah. Yep. Sunday on Monday with Deseret Book and LDS Living. And then I get to do one now. When we talk about, like, I am not a Hebrew scholar. There are scholars out there. Dr. Donald W. Perry.
Okay.
That man has paid the price. I do a YouTube series with him called Jesus Christ in Scripture. There are so many Hebrew scholars. I've just studied Hebrew for 10 years. So it took me a full year to learn the alphabet. And then after that, I've just been like 10 years of diving into the scriptures, looking up words in Hebrew, finding out what they mean. I said I'm like the John the Baptist of Hebrew. I'm just preparing the way for people.
Okay, but you brought up an important point, and we are gonna get into the scriptures here. But I think that this is so important, Tammy. I was raised by a mother who had a bachelor's degree but did not have a master's or postdoctoral work, anything.
Yeah.
The woman was brilliant, and I would say, looking at my life, hands down, was my mentor in the scriptures and living the gospel.
You've shared that with me. Yeah.
And I feel, Tammy, on one side, I totally agree. If you feel so guided and inspired to get a PhD, please do. I love having a PhD. It opened many doors and windows, et cetera, et cetera. But I also just, everybody has a different path, and I'm so grateful for the path you took.
Yeah.
For the path my mom took, and I'm grateful for the path that you are taking. You know, like, we just need each other in different ways. I love that you say you're not a Hebrew scholar. You may not have the PhD in Hebrew scholar, but among the people that I know personally, Tammy, you are a Hebrew scholar.
Thank you.
No, genuinely, thank you. Thank you for studying. You don't need a degree to be the scholar. So thank you. And most importantly, you're a disciple scholar, as Elder Maxwell talks about.
I can be that.
You
I can be
are that.
Thank you.
So I also want to throw out that Tammy has 4 beautiful daughters as well. 4 beautiful children.
Do 4 girls, all drama, all the time. So that's why I focus on the stories about women in scripture, because I want my girls to know them. And this is what I want everyone who watches this to do today. Okay, first you need your scriptures, and then you're going to need something to mark your scriptures with. You're going to want a highlighter and then a pen. And I'm just going to tell you right now, because I have people come up to me after I teach, and I have this in front of me, and they say, "Now, what book are you using? Who are you reading from?" And I go, "These are my scriptures." So this is the reason why it's so gigantic. It's the journal edition, 10 out of 10, highly recommend, because I write a gazillion notes.
Oh, yeah.
That's what this big, gigantic book is. It's just the Old Testament too.
So I use this with our family scripture study.
You have to.
Yeah. This one, I just keep throwing it in my backpack all the time, and it's so heavy that I just.
Oh, I have a little
We have
one.
our own little.
Oh, yeah.
How many scriptures, right?
And I'm old. I don't have my old lady glasses, so this is big enough font to see today. So this will be so fun.
Tammy, let's start with our first principle, which is as we follow and testify of the prophet, we will see the Lord's hand in our life. Yes. Okay, I'm giving it to you to give us the background, set the stage for us.
So here's what we've got going on. Elijah, so here's how I remember it. J comes before S. So Elijah was before Elisha. So Elijah, awesome prophet, and Elijah dies. So he gets taken away into this chariot of fire. Such a great story. But before he dies, Elisha says to him, "Please give me a double portion of your prophetic power." Because Elijah says to him, "What do you want from me?" And that's what Elisha asks for, double portion. Now, this is kind of cool. I have not yet researched this, and it's my goal to do this, but I did Google, because, thank goodness for the internet. I just Googled miracles Elijah versus Elisha, and it was pretty fascinating because allegedly Elijah performed roughly 7 miracles, but Elisha performed about 14. Like double.
I love that.
miracles.
I love that.
And whether or not that's totally true in number, it is true that Elisha has more recorded miracles than Elijah. So he really got a double portion. So now we have a new prophet. We have this man.
Okay, before you go on,
Yes.
if you want to know where that is in your scriptures, if you're trying to mark that, that's
perfect.
2 Kings 2, verse 9.
Yes.
Where he says, and Elijah said, "I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me."
Awesome.
Now, before you go on with this too, because we have a new prophet today, I just have to throw this out there.
Please do.
President Oaks at the BYU devotional, who we are going to quote this devotional, I think, for quite a while because it was so good.
I have recently, yes.
So good. So here in 2 Kings chapter 2, we're talking about this mantle that's going to come upon Elisha.
Yep.
I wanted to read what President Oaks says about this.
Do. Yeah.
He says, the word mantle is used in the Bible to describe the cloak of the prophet Elijah that descended on Elisha as a symbol of the passage of prophetic authority. The term mantle came into the restored church's history in many reports of the meeting in Nauvoo who would succeed the murdered Joseph Smith. Many who were present recorded their experience of the mantle of Joseph settling on Brigham Young. Those experiences took many forms. Some had visual experiences, some heard Joseph's voice, many had a feeling, as each of us receives revelation differently. And then he says this, which I think is important for his personal experience today, and then I'm sending it back to you. When Russell M. Nelson was called as our prophet, I had a similar experience. This is President Oaks speaking. I had sat beside this apostle in the meetings of the Quorum of the 12 for 34 years. But when the mantle of the prophet settled upon President Nelson, I felt that his prophetic gifts were magnified. We all have witnessed his profound leadership. Upon President Nelson's death, I experienced another meaning of the mantle. To observers, it symbolizes a transfer of priesthood authority. To the person who receives that authority, it is a very different and it's very real. Within a few minutes after learning of President Nelson's death, I felt the heaviness of the responsibility settle upon me, along with the important impressions of what I was required to do now. So I just wanted to throw that.
So clever.
We hear this here.
Yep.
This is the mantle being passed, and this is where President Oaks is referring to. And many other leaders of the church refer to this mantle being passed.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm ready.
Love that. Thank you so much. So it gets passed. And now we have this story where we've got these miracles that Elisha is going to perform. I think it's interesting that right out of the gates, the very first group of miracles are about women. Here's the thing that is so phenomenal about these stories is they're about women, and so we have to tell their stories, and they often get overlooked. I remember for years teaching seminary, I was like, we did not teach the story in 2 Kings chapter 4. and no, I'm no shade to anybody who's writing, because there's so many stories you have to
so many
put
stories.
in the curriculum. I get that. So I feel like what I love about these podcasts and what you do is that you provide space for us to tell the stories that don't get told. So we're going to do that today. We're going to tell the stories that don't get told.
I have to second, third, and Googleplex that.
Love it.
It's different. I think that this is important. I know that this is important for us as women to understand this. Women will gravitate towards women's stories. We want, not always, but I think that that's a tendency that we have. And typically in the past, if I can just explain what I see, it's nothing negative towards others, but for many years, curriculum writers, leaders of the church are men, and that's fantastic. And I'm so grateful for them. We've learned so much. But if you have a woman who's looking in the scriptures and you see a woman being mentioned, because there are a few, although so many more in the Old Testament, which is extremely nice.
So many.
But we see these, and so it is incumbent upon us as women, I feel so strongly about this, to not only recognize that these women's voices are in here and these stories are in here, but that we learn them and teach them. Because if we don't, who will?
Right.
Right? So we take the responsibility, which is one of the many reasons we have Tammy here and other women who I know are going to look at these scriptures and it's just going to jump out to them. But please, mothers, aunts, grandmas, sisters, daughters, in your homes, in your classrooms, Sunday school teachers, whoever you are, don't be afraid of the women's scriptures stories. Just because you don't see them in the curriculum doesn't mean they're not important. They are extremely important. It's just being seen through a different person's eyes.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Absolutely. Love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's go into 2 Kings chapter 4. Here's what we're dealing with. And just as a little side note, in 2 Kings chapter 3, we've got the reign of these different kings. And I thought this was interesting because in 2 Kings 3, it says, now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, highlight Ahab and put a little heart above his name. And then you're going to put his wife's name. So I put like on a tree, like this person loves Ahab. In 2 Kings chapter 3, Ahab loves Jezebel.
What verse am I?
He's married to. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 1. So Ahab loves Jezebel. That's who's married. Now, Jezebel's naughty, and she does not like the prophets. In fact, she spends so much time trying to kill the prophets, even to the point that there is a story in here where there's a man by the name of Obadiah. Now, this is not the same Obadiah who comes later, separate Obadiah, but his name is Obadiah, and he hides 100 prophets in a cave to keep them from being killed by Jezebel. So she is... yeah, she's naughty.
Not good.
Okay, so we have Ahab loves Jezebel, and we have their son Jehoram. And this is interesting. It says, he began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat. Love that, because my grandpa used to say that. Great, Jehoshaphat.
Jumping Jehoshaphat.
Jumping Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. But verse 2, and he wrought evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his father and like his mother. Naughty Jezebel. Like, he was a bad king, but not as bad as his mom and dad.
But it's so buggy. Come on, ladies, let's be righteous. Okay.
But it's good to know that for the storyline coming up. So
it is.
Got this guy, Obadiah, who's hiding these prophets, saving their lives in a cave. Okay, so then we go into 2 Kings chapter 4. And here's our story. Oh, you guys, it's so good. It's only 7 verses, and it gets overlooked. Now there cried a certain woman. I've circled cried, and I just wrote literally crying. Like, she is coming, this certain woman. Highlight certain woman, because we love the talk by Sister Linda Burton.
We do.
In 2017, called Certain Women. And I love in her talk, she says, listen, certain can mean some, someone, any, or all. Or it could also mean a complete disciple of Jesus Christ. So I'm choosing to make this certain woman a disciple of Jesus Christ, and you'll see why in the storyline. So we have this certain woman. Of the wives of the sons of the prophets, now the sons of the prophets, this is where we get School of the Prophets from, is this phraseology right here. And these were sons of the prophets that Obadiah belonged to. These were people who followed God. So we have a wife of one of the sons of the prophets. She comes unto Elisha saying, thy servant, my husband, is dead. And thou knowest that thy servant did for the Lord. She's like, you know what my husband did for him. And the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons and my bondmen. Now, this verbiage right here, some scholars believe that right here when she goes, you know who my husband is, and that he was a servant of the Lord. Because in 1 Kings 18, that's the chapter that introduces us to Obadiah, who heard the prophets. It says that he did this for the Lord. And so some scholars think the reason why she's out of money is because Obadiah spent all his money hiding and feeding the prophets.
Which is very likely.
Totally likely. So she's like, you know what he did, and I don't have any money. And my creditor has come because we're in debt. And you can just pause right there and just ask a room full of women, raise your hand if you're in debt. Like if you, I mean, come on. So, but her debt is so severe that at this time, you could actually, if you couldn't pay your debt, your debtor could come and then say, great, I am taking your children. They will become my servants until you pay off this debt. And she's devastated because her husband's gone. He's dead.
Right.
Now she's a widow, and now she's about to lose her sons. So she's literally crying to the Lord. And then verse 2, Elisha says unto her, what shall I do for thee? Now I love this because I mean, if you're in her situation, you're going to the prophet and you're like, I am poor. Just as a normal human being, what do you expect the prophet, what would be best case scenario for the prophet to do?
Fix the problem.
Right?
All of it.
How much do you need?
Yes.
He says to her, okay, well, what do you want me to do? That is a moment of absolute faith. Like, oh, I guess I was hoping you'd pay it. Looks like that's not going to happen. So he says, tell me, what hast thou in thine house? Okay, we've got the craziest thing right here. What do you have in your house? Now I'm thinking of everything I have in my house because then I thought, okay, I could sell a lot of stuff. I could sell my couches. Maybe, maybe she's thinking I could sell stuff. And he says, she said, thine handmaid hath not anything in the house save a pot of oil. And then he said,
Okay, but isn't that beautiful?
oh, tell me why you love that.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I just think oil is so symbolic of the atonement of Jesus Christ. And when I think of this, Tammy, I honestly, every time I see this, I think she has given all that she has to the prophet. She has wasted her life for her children.
Mhm.
She's lost her husband. And what does she have left? The Savior. That's how I feel.
Beautiful.
Anyway, I love that.
That's awesome. Because and you'll see in these stories today, that is really what got the women through. It was their testimony in Jesus Christ.
Yes. This
think
oil
that's
is so
awesome.
symbolic for me. Okay,
I love that.
thank you.
Okay, so
This is why we talk together as women, because we learn from each other.
well, and our
I learned
perspective.
this, yes,
Yeah.
perspective. I'm not saying that is, but I'm saying to me that's what the oil represents.
I think you're right.
She's telling us who she is.
Yeah, I like that so much. So she says, yeah, that's all I've got. And then he says, okay, well, go borrow vessels abroad of all your neighbors, even empty vessels. Borrow not a few. I love that. Like as many vessels as you can find, as many Tupperware bowls, as many Ziploc baggies, as many anything you can, even the
Cottage cheese bowls.
Yeah, cottage cheese containers, totally. Like, so here's what I love. We're going to pause right here in the story because it's the craziest thing ever. Like, wait, what? It would have been so easy just to fix it. And you're asking me to do the craziest thing ever. So I want to pause for a minute because I want to go back to, and you're going to love this so much. Okay. Because this is how you teach. This is how you speak. So I did some research.
Okay.
All right. So back in 2015, there was a talk given to us by Elder Nelson at the time. He was not yet the prophet. And he gave a talk about delighting in the Sabbath. And we got a lot of Sabbath day talks that year.
Yeah, we did.
And I remember being so bugged because I was like, well, that's just great. One more thing we're not doing good enough. Like now we got to step up our Sabbath day observance. And I was bothered by that. Like, I do keep the Sabbath day holy. Can't you give us something else? And I felt like we were being berated. In fact, the prophet actually said, or Elder Nelson at the time, but he said, yet I wonder, is the Sabbath really a delight for you and me? His talk was called Sabbath Delights. And when he said, is the Sabbath really a delight for you and me? I was like, no, actually, no, it's not, because I still have to be a mom. I've got to cook for my family that day. And now it's just, we're just a house full of chaos.
And then they changed it to 2 hours on Sunday.
Yeah,
They
like-
have how many more children?
I loved 3-hour church. It was a total
She was amazing. Yes.
I remember one time I got put in as primary president. I still had a baby. I'm like, how soon can I get her in nursery? Like,
Counting down the days.
yeah, can we do it at 12 months? So this is fascinating, from 2015 to 2019, okay, that's a 5-year period.
Yeah.
There were 18 Sabbath day holy talks.
Wow.
In a 5-year period, 18 talks on keeping the Sabbath day holy. And I remember thinking, we get it, and I'm struggling. Okay, then COVID hit 2020. And between 2020 and 2025, which is 6 years, guess how many talks we've had on keeping the Sabbath day holy? 4.
Wow.
Only 4.
Wow.
And I had this aha moment, like I'm feeling the spirit right now as I'm saying this, because my worldly brain was feeling berated when really we were being prepared. 18 Sabbath day holy talks because the prophet knew in 2020, you better know how to keep the Sabbath day holy. You better decide what that's going to feel like for your family. And here I was thinking, I don't like the Sabbath. It's so hard. And now I'm forced to do it all day long on a Sunday. I'm doing the sacrament with my family at the kitchen table. And I just had this beautiful aha moment where I was like, I saw with wrong eyes. Like I don't know that I would have been able to be this woman in these verses because I would have been like, seriously, pots of oil, that is so dumb. Like that is the most ridiculous thing ever to give me. Why can't you just pay the bill? Or why can't you, have somebody else like my home teacher help me pay the bill? And so I think the most important thing to know is, and Elder Eyring said this in a talk, he says, prophetic counsel changes the very ground upon which we stand. And I'd love to go back to 2015, knowing what I know now and saying, you guys, something's coming.
Yeah.
Why do we have 18 talks on Sabbath Day Holy? Oh, because 2020, we're shutting down and we will have to observe a whole new Sabbath. I love that idea that prophetic counsel changes the very ground upon which we stand. And that is about to happen to this woman in this story.
What does that mean, Tammy? Because when you just said that, I'm thinking of President Eyring, and President Eyring is a man. If the prophet's going to say read the Book of Mormon, he's going to read the Book of Mormon. If the prophet's going to say keep the Sabbath day holy, he's going to keep one of the things that I know about President Eyring after watching his life from afar, it is the ground on which he stands has changed as he's followed the prophet.
Yes.
I mean, his biography is incredible, right? I've mentioned this before on this show. I just love his biography. His life has changed. But what does that mean to you?
Well, for me, it even goes to something so simple as when it says prophetic counsel changes the ground upon which we stand, I would include the prophetic counsel from a stake president and a bishop. I mean, my bishop in January told our ward, he challenged us to read the Book of Mormon in a year. And in that very moment, I was like, we're doing that. We are going to do that as a family. It is so hard to do.
Yeah.
And so immediately I got onto the Gospel Library app because you can actually put in that you want to read the Book of Mormon. Here's how much time we have to do it. It'll calibrate how many pages you have to read in a day.
Yes.
So I was like, 12 verses? I can do that. We can do 12 verses a day. And I will tell you that it has changed the ground upon which my family stands. Like we have needed that guidance and inspiration. And so for me, when a prophet speaks, I unequivocally, because of this Sabbath Day Holy experience, I'm like, done. But even now, I've gone to the point where when an apostle speaks, when my stake president speaks, when my bishop speaks, when it's for the benefit of my family, I just think I have to do it. Even if it's the most silly thing ever, even if it's the silliest thing of like, go grab all the bowls you can find, get everything here because you're about to do something with all those bowls or all those vessels.
So you're not like the people in 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 23, where it says little children, where you're not saying, go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald
Right,
head.
right. No, I'm not doing that. No.
Making sure.
And make sure you mark in your scriptures little children, because some scholars believe they were around 18 to 20 years old.
Yeah, more young
Then you
adults.
feel a little bit better. You're like, well, of course they said that. They were 20. I was like that too. All right, so let's get back into the story. Okay. So then we have verse 4. And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door. I love that some scholarship believes that this miracle is just hers. Like, this will just be between you and the Lord. So shut your door. And then you're going to start pouring out into all the vessels oil from your one pot. Again, so ridiculous that the cynic in all of us would be like, please, that's not even, okay, whatever. So then she went from him and shut the door upon her and upon her sons who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out, and she just kept pouring. And number 6 says, when the vessels were full, she said to her son, bring me another vessel. I can just hear it, right? Yes. I can hear me yelling, come on, another, it's full. And you're just swiping, right? Vessel for vessel. And then we come right here until the very end of verse 6. There are vessels no more. Like, Mom, we filled all of them. And that says, and the oil stayed, means stopped. Like, and then that was it. That was the end of the oil. So then she came and told the man of God and said, okay, we have all of these vessels. And he's like, great, now go sell them. And don't you love that? Like, it wasn't even such an easy answer. Like, she did the first thing and filled the vessels. Now I got to sell it. Okay, so she goes out, she sells all the oil, which oil was super important to people in Old Testament time. It was the mainstay of their life. And he says, go.
I want to add to that for a second, especially when we're talking olive oil, but we don't know that this is olive oil. It's oil, but the likelihood is high enough, right? Yeah. They're using oil for soap. They're using oil for medicine. They're using oil for light. They're using oil for cleanliness. I mean,
for food, for the tabernacle,
yes.
Sacrifices.
We can't even emphasize the amount of benefit this would be to this woman to have this amount of oil.
Totally.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, people need this oil. So it's a no-brainer they're going to sell it.
Yeah.
She does. She sells all of it. And then verse 7, she came to the man of God and he said, go sell the oil, pay your debt, And then I love this. Live thou and thy children off the rest. Like, she sold and made so much money that then for the rest of her life, she would have enough money to live off of. Live off of the rest. It's not even going to get her out of a couple of jams. Like, she will, her whole life taken care of, because it literally changed the ground upon which she and her son stood. And so Elder Eyring does this other really cool quote, and this is so awesome. Then he says this: sometimes we will receive counsel that we cannot understand or that seems not to apply to us, even after careful prayer and thought. Don't discard the counsel, but hold it close. And then I love this. If someone you trusted handed you what appeared to be nothing more than sand with the promise that it contained gold, you might wisely hold it in your hand a while, shaking it gently. Every time I have done that with counsel from a prophet, after a time, the gold flakes have begun to appear, and I have been grateful. And I just see her like shaking the sand, going, it doesn't look like gold. And then it turns into gold. And I think that's what happens when we follow prophetic counsel. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. And you're going to hold that sand, and it does. It just turns to gold. It just really does.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna put you on the spot. When has this happened to you? I'm going to application because I'm seeing these great stories here. And we are talking about prophets and apostles, and this is our day here and now, right? And I try not to jump to, I genuinely try not to jump to application too quickly, because I think we really need to understand the doctrines and principles that are being taught here. But when have you, in a sense, been a recipient of more oil? You're talking about the Sabbath day. That's a wonderful example. Like, when have you, another time when you've said, I did this. I brought out vessels of oil, and indeed the Lord did fill these vessels.
Yeah. Okay, 100%. As you were talking about that, I knew exactly what my answer was. And I think you will agree with me. It was from the ages of 18 to 35, where I got a patriarchal blessing that said I'm getting married. I got blessing after blessing. I was doing everything I could, going to singles words. I was reading my scriptures, saying my prayers, going to the temple, paying my tithing, sometimes extra as fast offerings, just to show the Lord, like, I'll do whatever it takes to get married, right?
Yeah.
And I look back at that time in my life, and when I remember teaching seminary one time, and I asked the kids a similar question. I said, how can the Lord help us? And they gave me all the answers, the seminary answers: read your scriptures, say your prayers, go to church. And I remember a kid in the back yelling, it's always the same answers, always. And I remember looking at him and I went, oh, you're right. It is. It's always the same answers. And I remember thinking at that moment, the thought popped into my head that said, and they're not working for you. You're still single. What are you going to do with that? It was so hard, because then I thought, maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's more I should be doing. Maybe I need to double down on my extra tithing, right? More temple attendance.
Fast every week.
Fast every week.
Every day.
Oh, exactly. And I look back at my life and I think, I love that taught me the prophetic counsel was real. Like, just stay the course. Keep going to church, keep paying your tithing, keep going to the temple, do all the things, because the reality is doing all those things doesn't always in the moment give you what you want, but it will help you want what you get. And I think this woman right here, she didn't get what she wanted right at the beginning. It took time to gather oil or gather vessels. Who knows how long it took? Maybe people thought she was crazy, but to employ her sons to go and do all of that work, and then to do the work of pouring the oil, and then to do the work of selling the oil. Like, the Lord asked her to work, and she got the blessing. And I think in my own life, time and time again, it just, prophetic counsel works.
And if I think we look back at this, the point of the story isn't that this woman received all of this oil and she had all this money.
Right.
The point is she became a true disciple of Christ in the process, and now is able to testify of it and imagine her sons as they witness the miracle of the faith of this mother. And yes, the miracle is the oil. I see that. But the bigger miracle really is what these young boys are seeing is happening to their mother. For the rest of her life, she is going to be testifying, and then they will be testifying, and then their kids are going to be testifying of the miracle that came because this woman became an incredible woman of faith. The miracle is who we're becoming.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
And then as we see this, the testifying that's going to be happening in this as well, which is why one of the reasons we love being at this table together. We both love testifying. Yeah. That's just true. We love testifying of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Hello, my dear friends. Before we jump into our next topic, I'd like to invite you to just think about what you are learning, what you are feeling, what you are seeing, and what matters to you.
I'd like you to think about someone that you could actually share this podcast with. We would like to flood the earth with the truths of the gospel of Jesus Christ. As women, we have been asked to speak up and speak out. We want to share the light of Jesus Christ throughout the world, and we would love your help in doing so.
Next principle under a big umbrella, right, of these similar principles is, and Tammy gets points for this because I love these words. As we follow the prophet, we too can say it is well.
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to mark that phrase because it happens so many times in this story. So here's the first thing you want to do. We're again still in 2 Kings chapter 4. This is so awesome. And it's verse 8. Highlight, it fell on a day. And you're going to see that phrase again in verse 18. It fell on a day. And here's what you want to know. In Hebrew, it actually doesn't say, and it fell on a day. It says, and it came to pass.
Isn't that great?
It's so fun. And it's the same thing in verse 18. It came to pass. So here's what you want to know about that phrase. Just a really fun fact about that phrase. In the King James Version of the Bible, that phrase, it came to pass, appears about 700 times. But in the Hebrew version of the Bible, it appears over 1,200 times. And here's why I've written that down. Because you go, well, wait a minute, then why is it fell on a day? Or sometimes it will say, and now behold. It'll have all these other phrasings at the beginning. When the translators of the King James Version were translating, it's likely that they kept seeing it came to pass and went, that's pretty redundant. Like, let's just throw in something else that makes a little bit, shake it up a little, break it up. So instead of it came to pass, they're going to do, and it fell on a day. Now, when Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery are translating the Book of Mormon, and they get to 1 Nephi chapter 16, it came to pass appears 31 times in 39 verses. And can you imagine as an English teacher, I bet Oliver Cowdery was like, excuse me,
Is there another word we can use for this? Can we go to our synonyms check?
That's a lot of it came to pass. I can even imagine as an English teacher being bugged a little bit, like, come on. And I would love to go back and see that moment where Joseph was like, it just says it came to pass. Like, I have to write whatever it says, I got to do. It came to pass.
Tell you here, Oliver.
It's a Hebraism. In fact, it came to pass is mainly used in a narrative story, in a storyline. It's never used in poetry, which I've learned this from Dr. Donald W. Perry.
Yeah.
So I tested the theory. In 1 Nephi 16, it's a narrative story of building the ship and the conversation he has with his brothers and everything. And he's like, and it came to pass, like I'm telling you this story. Then I went and read the Psalm of Nephi. Not one time is it came to pass in that.
2 Nephi 4, for those of you, right? The Psalm of Nephi.
Yes, the Psalm of Nephi. He doesn't use that phrase because it's a poem. So it really is true. Okay, so you have all these, it came to passes. Isn't that so fun? Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
2 Kings chapter 4, verse 8. And it came to pass that now we have Elisha, and he comes into the city of Shunem. And there is a great woman, highlight great, because in Hebrew, this could mean that she was really great and popular. It could also mean that she was of great wealth. Those are some other scholarly takes. So this is where we get the name of the storyline. We don't know the woman's name. The story is called the Shunammite woman. That's all we know.
Okay.
She's nameless. Isn't that great?
I love it. Yes.
All the unnamed women in the Old Testament, you want to know their stories.
Yeah,
there's so many of them. Maybe that's why we just don't put them in because we don't have a name, but learn the unnamed story. So this is the Shunammite woman. She's great. She constrains her husband.
I have to jump in. I'm so sorry. When you say all these great women in the Old Testament, and I want to add, when we had Karen Ashton here, and she felt so strongly about the unnamed women of the Doctrine and Covenants as well. And I think
love where she said that.
All of these women, the unnamed,
so many.
And I want this so strongly. In the Lord's eyes, there is no unnamed women.
Oh.
We may not know the names of everyone, but God does. And I hope that's just really obvious. But if anyone is feeling unnamed for any reason, you are named by the Lord. I just have to throw that out.
Thank you so much. Great. Well, you love it when Isaiah says, I will call thee by thy name.
Yes.
Saying as a blanket statement, like, I know everybody's name. Yeah, he knows the Shunammite woman's 100%. Name. Okay. He knows the wife of Obadiah or the thank you.
Yes.
She constrains the prophet Elisha to eat bread in her house anytime he comes by into that city. So this is her connection to him. She's like, I want him to eat bread in my home. And here's why. Verse 9. She said unto her husband, behold, now I perceive. Now highlight perceive, because in Hebrew, it's not the word perceive. It's the Hebrew word yada, which means to know. So she's saying, I know that this is a holy man of God, which passeth by us continually. Don't you love that? So now that tells me a lot about her. Like, I know this is a man of God. And so then she says in verse 10, you know what? let's make a little chamber. Let's build it. We're going to add on to our house. Like, this blows my mind because I would love to add on to my house, but I know how much that is going to cost. It's never going to happen. So she says to her husband, we're going to add on to our house and we're going to make him a room. And in that room, in verse 10, it says we're going to give him a bed, a table, a stool, and a candlestick. And then when he comes, he will come to us and he will turn in thither. And you know she's a great woman because she just says to her husband, here's what we're doing. Like,
Yes.
we're gonna
Make this
add on.
happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I love the idea that some scholarship thinks that when she puts a table, a stool, and a candlestick in the room, that's not common for a bedroom, that she's implying she knows he's going to need somewhere to receive revelation at night.
Yeah, he's a holy man.
He's a holy man. He's going to get stuff. He's going to need to get up and write it down. So here we go, verse 11, and it fell on a day, which we now know means it came to pass, that he came thither and he turned into the chamber and he slept there. And then he says to his servant Gehazi, listen, this woman is so nice. Like, we should really do something for her kindness. What do you think we should do? And I love that the servant says, well, we could actually put in a really good word for her among the king of the land, like maybe among her people. And so they call her and they say, you know, how about if we do that for you? And I love at the end of verse 13, she's like, I dwell among mine own people. Like, I don't need any accolades.
Yeah.
We're good. And so then they keep talking. And then the Elisha says, no, there's got to be something we can do. And Gehazi says in verse 14, verily, she hath no child and her husband is old. Don't you love that?
Yes. It's like a little setup going on here.
It totally is. Like, you know, maybe we could, and I love the faith that Gehazi has too. Like, why don't you just make her pregnant? Like, let's see what we can do. Love that.
Okay, but we don't mean like make her pregnant. We mean like
correct. Yeah. Use your magic, however that works. So they call in unto her and she stands in the door. And then verse 16, it says, and he said to her, about this season, according to the time of life. You want to highlight that phrase, and I'm going to give you a cross reference. You want to put Genesis chapter 18, verse 14.
Okay, I'm just going to say something. I'm going to circle the footnote. This is what I do. I'm going to draw a line to the other footnote because the footnote's there, but
yes,
how often do we have footnotes and we actually don't really look at them? This one,
you want this footnote.
Okay.
Because the reason, if you go to Genesis 18, verse 14, that is the exact same wording the angels use to say that Sarah is going to have a child. And they say, about this season, according to the time of life. And scholarship says that means 1 year from now. So when you see that phrasing, he's saying, listen, 1 year from now, you're going to have a son. And that's what it says, thou shalt embrace a son. And I love the rest of this verse because the way I interpret it makes me laugh. And she said, I want you to interpret this in your own language. Okay, here's what she says. Nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. How are you going to interpret that?
You got to be kidding me. There is no way. Really?
I love it. That's what I wrote at the top. I'm like, don't you mess with me. Like, my husband's old. She might be old too.
Yeah.
She's like, are you kidding me? I'm going to have a son? So she's a little bit skeptical. But sure enough, in verse 17, the woman conceived, bare a son at the season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life. So exactly 1 year, she has a son.
And I want to throw out into this too, just for the purposes of our lives. It's the Lord's timing.
Oh, then verse 18. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day, or it came to pass, that he went out to his father, to the reapers. And he said to his father, my head, my head. And he said to the lad, carry him to his mother. And she went, and when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and he died. We have this, like, one of the most heartbreaking moments. I don't know, like, I know women who have lost children who have said, I would, like, of all the things, like, that is the worst thing that could have happened. I would have to agree. I live in fear of that all the time. And can you imagine you finally have a son, and then he dies? And he's laying there on her lap and takes his last breath. And in verse 21...
Okay, I have to throw this in there because I was thinking about this as I was studying this as well. And this is something that's become very poignant to me in the scriptures, especially the Old Testament. Eve has a son, and he dies. Sarah has a son, he's placed on the altar. Hannah is placing her son on the altar, right? I mean, you go through the scriptures, and then we start with Mary, and then we even start with Emma. I mean, we start talking about
women who've done this.
Moses's mother.
Yeah.
I mean, how many women are literally being asked to place their son on the altar? I
love that connection.
I believe that there is a lot more going on with these women losing their sons in the eternal perspective than we may acknowledge at times. I think it's very sacred.
I'm so thankful that you brought that up because it really just gives emphasis to what this woman's experiencing. Like you feel the depth.
Yes.
Like I love that, Barbara. That is awesome.
Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Yes,
Right? I mean,
absolutely.
we often talk about the Abraham putting his son on the altar and all of this. The mothers are putting their sons on the altars too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that idea that significant women in the church have lost children.
Yes.
Okay.
Daughters as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and then in verse 21, that she then lays him on the bed, on Elisha's bed, in the room, shuts the door behind her, and walks out. Okay, so we have this heartbroken woman. And what do you do in that moment? I mean, it's this, everybody, I want everyone to feel this moment because what would you do? Because here's what this woman does.
Can I have to throw this out too? I think it's significant in verse 21 that she places her son on the bed of the man of God. To me, again, I think that's why this altar approach is very significant. It's like she's saying, I have done all I can.
Yeah.
I am giving him to you. Like I am completely humble and meek and just, to me, it's like her final prayer and putting him on the altar of the prophet. Please.
Oh, I like
You know what I mean?
So then she calls her husband in verse 22 and says, send me, I pray thee, a young man, one of the asses, and I'm going to run, literally run. There's such urgency there, to the man of God. And now this is interesting because in verse 23, wherefore, the husband says, wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It's neither a new moon nor a Sabbath. Like he's like, you can't just go see the prophet.
Yes.
It's not a Sunday, like it's not a Sabbath, so that would maybe be a reason. But a new moon would mean one of the main holidays like Yom Kippur, where the people gather and the prophet's there. He's like, you can't just go talk to the prophet of the Lord. There's no way.
Yeah.
And I love her answer. It shall be well in verse 23. Highlight it shall be well, because this is a really important phrase in this storyline, because it shall be well in Hebrew is actually one word, and it's the word shalom.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, the word shalom is a very common greeting. Hello, goodbye, peace be with you, all those things. But I'm going to show you in Hebrew what it means. It's kind of cool, but I will show you in just a second because we have to go in. 24, sure enough, she gets the donkey. She takes a servant. She goes forward. I love how it says, slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee. In verse 24, don't you dare stop until I tell you to slow down. Like, go to the prophet. So she went and came unto the man of God on Mount Carmel, and he sees her and he says to Gehazi, hey, that's that lady. That's the Shunammite woman, the place where we've stayed. She had a child. You've got to go find out. I want you to run out and meet her, and I want you to ask her these questions. In verse 26, he says, run now, I pray thee, to meet her, and say unto her, is it well with thee? Is it well with thy husband? Is it well with thy child? Now, don't you, in that moment, we know the answers. But isn't that interesting that he's like, hey, is it well with your child? Is it well with you? And inside she's probably screaming, it's not. No,
Yeah.
It actually isn't. It couldn't be worse. Like it's the worst it's ever been. That is why I'm here. And her response at the end of verse 26, she answers, shalom. It is well. Now, here's the really cool thing about the word shalom in Hebrew. Okay, so 2 things you want to know. So shalom comes from a Hebrew root word, shalem. And that word shalem means to make complete, to make whole, or to restore something that was lost, or to be rewarded for good. And then shalom means complete and whole, just like shalem, but then this, and I love this, Barbara, peace with God, especially in a covenant relationship.
Oh, stop it.
Is that
I did not know.
great?
Yes, say that again. Peace with
Peace
God.
with God, especially in a covenant relationship.
So good.
So now we go back. Is it well with your child? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with you? And she just goes, shalom. Like it couldn't be worse, but I know it will be well because of a covenant relationship. And the thing I love about this story is, for me, that is the whole point and crux of the Shunammite woman and all of us as covenant-keeping women. Like, is it well? No, actually it's not. Couldn't be worse. But as a covenant-keeping woman, I know it will be well. It shall be well. And that is, I think, for me, what covenants mean. When I go to the temple, I had a very dear, close friend whose child made some choices that were devastating to her. And I can remember texting her when it happened, and I said, let's go to the temple. Like, now is the time to double down on the covenantal blessings. Like, we have to go to the temple and put his name on the prayer roll. I don't know what it looks like for your child in the future, but I know what it can look like for you in that moment. And so I think that's the point of this story, like shalom, it shall be well. And so how cool is this now? Because we have the song, It Is Well.
I think you're making such a great point here. When we are going through these difficult times, and this is a very, very difficult time, you can't minimize this. This woman has lost her son, and she is struggling, and she's being asked these questions. And when people ask those questions, it is so hard.
Right.
Sometimes you want to avoid humanity because the questions will be asked, right? As she answers the question, it is well, and she's not just making it up. And I think that this is important. She's not being a Pollyanna.
Oh,
Right.
I love that you said that, because I remember when I first read this, It Is Well, I was like, well, that's the greatest I'm fine answer I've ever heard. When people say, how you doing? I'm fine.
Yes.
It's not an I'm fine.
It's not. It is well.
Yeah.
It is shalom because, again, because of the rock upon which she is built.
Right.
Right. But she understands the importance of a prophet. She knows the prophet. This is not a woman who is shallow.
Right.
This is a woman, and sometimes I'm afraid that we may think that women who seem to be Pollyanna are shallow. No, 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 no. No, when a woman who has gone through the very depths of hell in her own life and says to you, it is well, she's not saying, I don't get it. And she's not saying,
I'm fine.
I'm fine. What she's saying is, I have made a covenant with God, and I will be with my son again, or I will have the financial blessing again, or I will have an eternal family. She has paid such a significant price that she can say to you with full certainty, it is well. Not because she's shallow and not because she hasn't struggled, but because she knows God.
Yes.
That's the true it is well.
I feel like that is the message of the Old Testament. That's what I feel like that is what God's trying to teach his people. Like, if you will just believe in me and believe in Christ, it's going to be well. Like, it's going to all be well. Maybe not in this life right now, but I promise you it will be well. It will be shalom.
Absolutely.
In fact, you go into the next storyline, and then everyone knows this, Naaman and Elisha. We've got that story where he's healed of his leprosy. The whole point, though, is because he followed a prophet, it was well. Like, every story is just do the thing I've asked. It's going to be shalom. It's going to be okay. And we all, that story is so familiar, and you can just keep going all of it.
I have to. But that little girl.
Oh, the little girl.
Take us to the girl.
Talk about a great example of shalom, because you've got this story about this little girl, the little maid. We don't know her name. We just know it's Naaman's maid, Naaman's wife's maid.
Yeah.
Her life was not well. Allegedly, she would have been a spoil of war. She would have been ripped from the arms of her parents and taken into captivity, where she's now living with these people she does not know, and she's got to serve them. And she finds out Naaman has leprosy. She would have been well within her right to just be like, well, good luck. Good luck with the leprosy, because now you don't even get, she probably knows, lepers, you don't get anything. You're going to be removed from your station. You're going to go live on the outskirts of town. Too bad for you. And
now you're going to know.
Maybe I'll be free.
Yes, maybe you'll get a little taste of what I live like.
Thank you.
Right?
Too bad for you.
Could have said that.
Totally. And then you love her little verse in 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 3. Would God, my Lord, were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. She could have kept her mouth shut, and she didn't. She bore a humble testimony of Jesus Christ and his prophet. It's like, listen, there's someone that can heal your husband. I can't believe I'm doing this, but.
And then he has to inquire. She just plants the seed for him. I love her little, I wish that you knew the prophet. He could save you. Ding.
And then the wife.
You walk away.
And then the wife is like,
Wait a second.
Maybe, I'll throw this out there to my husband, And then it works with him.
Yep.
And then he meets the prophet, and he has the miracle, and that story is so great. But again, at the very end, not only is it well, verse 15, then we have him saying, behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now, therefore, I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. Like, now he knows, like, it was well for him. It's just story after story.
After story. And again, the responsibility and the ability for these women to just open the door for the prophet to come through. Open the door.
Ages.
Yeah, they're working together. That's what I love about these stories. It's these men and women who are working together, both equally yoked before the Lord, and then they yoke themselves to Christ. And then Christ just pulls them through. I just love it.
Such a great way to put it. I like that so much.
I want to just jump to the last part, which we need in our day, I believe, to understand the importance of these youth, right? I mean, you're talking about this little maiden girl. Now we're talking about, we have this wonderful story in 2 Kings chapter 7, where we see Elijah and we see all of this whole army of people, where Elijah is opening the doors, right, of this young prophet. And there's this fear, this young man, I should say, there's just this fear of this battle. And then we see in verse 16, he answered, "Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them." And Elijah prayed and said, "Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see." And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and he beheld. The mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire around about Elijah. Now remember, Elijah had already gone up in this chariot of fire.
Yeah.
Right? So now we have Elijah. He's opening the doors to this young man and this chariot of fire, and he recognizes there really are more that be with us than they that be with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for women, I just want to say, women, there are more that be with us than they that be with them. There are more strong, stalwart women holding on to that tree. There are more women like Noah's wife who refused to get off the boat. There are more women like this beautiful woman that we were just talking about here, who was willing to give up the oil, willing to fill the oil pots and to put her son on the prophet. There are more that be with us than they that be with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes I am concerned that we may think that we are in the minority. We are not. But one of the ways that we can show people that we're not in the minority is to do what these people are doing on the other side of the veil and get our chariots out of fire and show the world that we are here.
Yeah.
We are here and we're on fire.
Yeah.
And we want to bring people to Christ.
Oh, I love that. I think that's a great thing right there. That verse, so important to make sure everybody marks that. 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 16, because I have used that so many times. Like, and you can even, maybe did it do it down below? I can't see, but oh no, it didn't. Cross-reference it to Doctrine and Covenants, section 88, verse 84.
Oh, yes.
My angels round about
Oh,
bear you up. Don't you love that?
yes, 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 which we have been promised today in our day.
Yeah. So this whole idea, and I'll just end with this story because this song has now been put into our hymns where we get to sing the song, "It Is Well." Yes. And now when I sing it, knowing what I know about that word, I almost cry every time I sing it in sacrament meeting because the storyline behind that song is so powerful. So it was written by a man by the name of Horatio Spafford, and he had 5 children, he and his beautiful wife. And they were alive in the 1800s. And his 4-year-old son got scarlet fever and died. And so they were devastated. And then the Chicago fires happened, and Horatio lost so much of his land that he owned. He was a real estate broker. He loses it. He almost loses everything. And so he says to his wife and his 4 daughters that remain, "Listen, we need to take a family trip. So we're going to go to England. I'm going to send you and the girls ahead of me. I will meet you there, and we'll just spend some time together as a family." So they get on the ship, and as they're sailing over the England, the ship gets in a wreck and it capsizes. And almost everybody on the boat dies, including his 4 daughters. And his wife, of course, devastated, right? "How you doing? Is it well with you? Is it well with your child? Is it
As well.
And she gets to England and she sends him a telegram. And in the telegram it says, this is all it says, "Saved alone, what shall I do?" So he hops on a boat and he sails to England immediately to meet her. And as he's passing over the spot where the ship had gotten in that wreck, the captain of the boat knows that Horatio is here and what had happened. And so he calls Horatio and says, "I just wanted to give you a moment. This is the spot where your daughters passed away." And Horatio's standing there on the deck of the boat. And as he's standing there, he starts to think this poem in his mind. And he thinks the lyrics of the song, "It Is Well." And now when you go and read all of those words in that song, like it hits so hard because it wasn't well. But he knows in that moment, like, it is well with my soul because of my relationship with Jesus Christ. I don't know how we'll go forward. Now it's just my wife and I, no children. And I just love the way that the Tabernacle Choir on Temple Square sings this. You can find it on YouTube. I highly recommend it. Just go and listen to it. Play it as loud as you can in your car on the days when you're not well.
It's both sides of the veil.
Yes.
Testifying to each other. It is well with thy soul, with thy. It's almost like the Lord, the angels, all of us are coming together. Like, it is well. It's well with your soul. You're going to be fine. It's going to be great. We have the next life, right?
Absolutely.
We have this life. It's good because we know of the atonement of Jesus Christ. It is well with your soul. And the way they sang that, I know it's well with my soul. And I know that the singers get it.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And when you sing that in sacrament, no matter where you are, whatever place of life you are in, and life is heavy and life is hard, and we feel like this life just is endurance, like it's so long. And I just love that the Lord is like, it is well. Like, it's going to be okay. I just lean into me. And I love that idea of the yoke that you brought up, because I love how Camille Funk-Olson teaches that when she says, we always imagine being equally yoked with Christ,
Yeah.
but I love her take on it. And she actually quotes another man who said in the 1984 General Conference that the yoke also could be a personal yoke that they used in Old Testament times.
Yes.
And when he says, my yoke is easy, in Greek, it literally means well fitted or suited for. And he's just like, let me just take that yoke off that you've been carrying, put mine on. It's so much easier. It's so much better. And so I don't fully know what that means. I've been trying to figure it out my whole life. Like, how do I really wear the yoke of Christ? I think I've done it a couple of times and it's worked. I want to do it all the time. I want to always live in the shalom space. So that's the story. That's the women. Is that so fun?
Oh, Tammy, you are the right one to be at this table with us, learning and teaching and guiding us. I really do believe if we were to take the stories of women throughout the world, including you who are listening right now, we could easily write your story in here. There is a story where you have put out your vessels and they have been filled. I just know that that's true. And I will say sometimes we have put out these vessels and they aren't filled yet.
Yeah.
But put out the vessels and we will be filled. I know that about about our God. And why? Because I'll tell you this about Elijah. And we started with Elijah. Because Elijah has the keys of the fullness, the sealing of the fullness of all that God has. Every vessel will be filled because he is a fullness, right? And he is, in this case, Elijah first, and then Elisha, and then today our prophet, President Oaks. These are men who hold the keys of all of the blessings of God on the earth today. And we as women working with these men together make it possible for all people to receive a fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ. We have to do it together. So, Tammy, I so appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks for the invite.
Oh my goodness.
The scriptures are just so fun, and they're true. They are God's word. I love the scriptures. Like, that is the only thing I want people to do is whenever I speak or whenever I teach or anything I do, my goal is for them to love God, love Jesus Christ, and then love the scriptures. Anyone can do it. Anyone can come to love the scriptures.
We can. I love this book. I love the scriptures. That's just the reality. I won't go into all this detail, but I somehow I was born with a desire to know truth. I just wanted to know the truth. I always have. And so that's why I love the scriptures, because I love truth and I love God. It's that simple. It's not that I'm all into all the scholar. I just want to know the truth constantly, because the truth sets us free. And I love being free and I love being happy. We love you too. We love that you are in this with us. We know we all have our stories. We have these experiences. Thank you. Thank you for spending time with us as we have studied the scriptures with you. Thank you for your own personal study. Thank you for spending time with your family and friends. Thank you for knowing these things for yourself and testifying of them. We cannot testify any stronger. I wish sometimes that the English language and even the Hebrew language and the Greek, the testimony of the Spirit is what really does convert. And so we carry that Spirit and have that with us as well. So we encourage you to do that. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being one of these women whose voices are being heard throughout the world. And whatever way you are doing that, whether it's in the quiet room of your door as you're shutting that door and weeping over a child, or whether you are on the housetops and hilltops and shouting out and seeing all the angels around you. Thank you for the role that you're playing and bringing people to Christ. We'll see you next week on Grounded.
Shalom.